Welcome to Ankh-Morpork.
Stop, citizen!
Sam, what are you doing here?
It's just a patrol.
You know him,
Episode 1 introduces our audience to the world of Ankh-Morpork, the world that is going to be the epicenter of this series, The Watch. We're also introduced to all the characters that exist in this city. Interspersed throughout the episode, we see how Vimes and Carcer's history was forged.
We said only the captain! You said you'd do it!
We see a flashback of 20 years ago when Sam Vimes had a moment with someone he thought he was going to be a partner with for the rest of his life, this guy Carcer Dunn, who ran a gang.
You made a promise!
Carcer was his best friend all through his childhood. Probably, if it wasn't for Carcer, he would be dead. He wouldn't have lived as long as he did.
Keep it!
Carcer starts as this young rebel, very idealistic, and has strong opinions about Ankh-Morpork and the way it's run.
Finish off Keel.
There's a lovely moment where the head of the watch, Captain Keel, is fighting for Sam Vimes' soul, whilst Carcer Dunn is saying, no, you're part of our gang.
Do it, Sam. Don't listen, Sam. Come home. He is home.
And ultimately, of course, Sam decides to stay with the police force and leave the gang.
I had a really strong sense of kinship with Carcer and just understanding a very major theme for him, which was betrayal. He wasn't someone that was trying to do things for his own selfish gain. You know, he had a whole bunch of people that he was looking after and people that looked up to him, and so there was that element of responsibility.
There's a chase through the streets, there's a fight on top of the Unseen University.
To execute this scene, we had to create an atmosphere of chaos and danger. We decided to not only pit the two brothers against each other, but also the elements against them. We had rain, wind, lightning. The fight takes place on the top of a building during a huge lightning storm.
I always thought we were brothers!
You're expecting Sam to reach out and grab him and pull him back, and he just stands there. He's just sort of left, unsure what to do.
His best friend was hanging off the edge of a roof, and he was supposed to pull him up, and he didn't. He just watched. And that word, watch, just standing there, that impotence, that helplessness, is very much where Sam Vimes is at the start of the season.
Come on, the wrestling!
And the whole journey of episode 1 and the series is about him learning to stop watching and to start doing something.
For 20 years in the future, when we return to see Captain Vimes, he's a shell of his former self.
Right.
He has fallen into a state of disrepair.
He became an alcoholic and despised himself and basically just wished he was dead.
And at the same time, a new policeman comes in, Carrot Iron Fanderson from the mountains, who's this sort of strapping, naive, you know, very keen to do well police officer, and he's suddenly faced, like the audience are, with this mad city.
What is wrong with you? I'm Constable Carrot Iron Fanderson. Welcome to the home of Ankh-Morpork's finest crime fighters.
So the story basically begins with the audience seeing Ankh-Morpork through Carrot's eyes. After you see a flashback to what Ankh-Morpork used to be like, you see Carrot arrive into the city and you see a whole new Ankh-Morpork that wasn't there before Vimes became captain.
But he stole. In broad daylight.
They're allowed to steal. Welcome to Ankh-Morpork.
Crime is legal to an extent. It's licensed and quoted, so you can get away with crime in a way if you're part of the guild and you leave a receipt, but if you're not, then it is illegal.
You want to steal? Join the Thieves Guild. Need somebody killed? Go to the Assassins Guild.
But what that means in Ankh-Morpork is that the police force have slowly over the years become more and more redundant.
Well, also not. You won't be taking anyone down here. It's a good gig for laying low.
The city of Ankh-Morpork is run by a character called the Patrician, Lord Vetinari.
My lord, he's here.
When we got to Lord Vetinari, We felt that there was a lot of kind of patriarchal presumptions about that character. So we thought it would be really subversive and interesting and would speak to what we're doing with gender fluidity. We thought, you know what, Vetinari should be a woman, but should retain the title of Lord Vetinari, should retain the pronoun of him.
I'm sorry to interrupt your very important work, Vimes. Vetinari is obsessed with the city. The city's like a love affair, and Vetinari thinks he's the only person who can run it. He doesn't consider Vimes as a sort of viable person. He writes him off, but Vetinari is kind of amused by him. Sends him off on little errands. So he wants to keep him kind of going, because you need to look as though there's some kind of police force. So it suits him. The librarian from Unseen University has reported that a book has been stolen from his shelves.
Carrot suddenly thinks, well, hang on, I'm not going to be a real cop. I'm going to come here and pick up litter and chase overdue library books. How can that be right in a place full of thieves and killers? And the conflict between him and Vimes kind of drives the early part of the story and the early part of the season, and in particular episode 1, the difference in approach and beliefs about how things should be.
You're Captain Vimes. But you were trying to urinate on that dog.
Carrot is everything that Vimes remembers in his youth, that idealistic, adventurous, young soul who hasn't been ravaged by the world yet. And it annoys him because he sees all his own flaws and how badly his own life has gone. But he also respects the young fella. I don't like it either, kid, but I don't make the rules.
Rules? With all due respect, Captain, none of this makes sense. No one said anything to me.
The second thing that he has a huge impact on Sam Vimes at the beginning of the series in episode 1 is the sudden appearance of Carcer.
Watch closely now.
I mean, he sees Carcer as he was 20 years ago, and so that's the mystery that kind of starts his journey.
Carcer done.
He spends most of episode 1 thinking, did I really see this guy? How can he look the way he did 20 years ago? And he's trying to find out and figure out, am I losing my mind? Have I finally broken? Or did I really see him? And if I did really see him, how can he be back? How is this possible? And what is he doing?
Sam Vimes has joined up with the other person in Ankh-Morpork who's trying to make a difference, which is Lady Sybil Ramkin. And she's been sort of on a mission on her own to sort of try and change the world.
We meet Lady Sybil in the basement of her mansion, where she's attempting to reform a few of the more unsavory characters of Ankh-Morpork, posing as a vigilante. So she takes it upon herself to try and teach these people that actually doing good is much better than doing what is perceived to be good, such as legalized crime.
Well, I hope you're all better behaved than he is today.
So she comes in from you know, flames and fire, and she's wearing this incredible fire suit.
Good morning, class.
She comes in and you know, she gets called crazy by Vimes, and then she goes off. I hate the injustices that go on in this world, and I don't understand how anyone can just carry on and work and sleep while I literally want to rip my hair out.
I brought you here because you've been brainwashed into believing that crime is a legitimate profession.
It becomes clear to her that he is the captain of the watch, and we immediately see that there's some history there for her and her relationship with the watch that is going to set them on a course.
The watch.
To go one of two ways. They're either going to hate each other and tear each other apart, never to be seen again, or alternatively, they'll find a kinship in some form or another.
You breathe like an old lady.
And around the back of all this, a library book has gone missing from the Unseen University. And the library book is the MacGuffin of the series. The library book is the grimoire, and within it there are instructions as to how you can control the most powerful weapon, which is a noble dragon.
Noble dragon? Nobody's seen one of these in centuries.
All this slab for a little library book about dead dragons.
Don't underestimate little things. A book can burn a world.
Carcer.
There's a big confrontation, and Sam Vimes is there facing Carcer going, how are you still looking the same as 20 years ago? And Carcer pulls out a crossbow and says, you should have arrested me, and fires the crossbow. Sam shoves Sybil to one side, and you just think Sam's going to take the crossbow bolt. And we end episode 1 on we think is a great cliffhanger, which is your lead character dying.